Hello and welcome back to the Tech Blackboard. Today in part 2 of our AZ-900 updated exam Q&A series, I have got 30 questions which will not only cover the questions based on the new course content but also cover some of the most discussed questions from our last series on AZ-900 real exam question and answer. And friends, if you find the content of this video worth your time, then please show your appreciation by pressing the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your likes help us grow and bring more such content to you and help you in your cloud journey. In case you are not aware, then a worth mention of our last series on AZ-900 real exam question and answer, the thumbnail for which is now visible on the screen, and the link is also shared both in the I button on the top right corner and in the description box below. And I cannot move forward without mentioning that if you are serious about passing AZ-900, then along with this new series, you must watch our old series which covers 191 questions. All these questions are still quite relevant, and for a complete coverage, you must watch this series as well. Friends, already almost 60,000 people have watched this series and benefited out of it. Now coming to this series, in the part 1 I have covered 35 questions, so in case you happen to miss part 1, the link is available in the description box. And friends, to extend your learning in offline mode, here is a giveaway from my side. I will give away a free PDF file containing all the 65 questions that we have covered so far with answers in part 1 and in part 2. And for that, you have to tell me the correct answer of question number 3, 16, 29, 42 and 62. All the answers can be found either in this part 2 or in the previous part 1. Let's begin our part 2 of AZ-900 updated exam Q&A series. And here comes the question number 36, and the question says that which of the following best explains cloud computing? Your options are delivery of computing resources over the internet. The second option is setting up your own data center. The third option is scalable computing. And the correct answer for this question is option A, delivery of computing services over the internet. Moving on with question number 37. The question says that which of the following is not a feature of cloud computing? The options are latest technology, a limited pool of services, flexible resources, or economic of scale. The correct answer for this question is option B, a limited pool of services. And the reason is that when you are using cloud computing offers you almost virtually unlimited pool of services. So you can create services or you can get the computing power as much as you want. Now moving on with question number 38, it says that which of the following is not a cloud computing? Your options are public cloud, scalable cloud, private cloud, or hybrid cloud. The correct answer for this question is option B, scalable cloud. So basically public cloud, private cloud and hybrid cloud are type of cloud computing. However, there is no such thing as scalable cloud. Moving on with question number 39, and it says that if Microsoft plans to end the support of an Azure service that does not have a successor service, then Microsoft will provide notification at least 12 months before. Now the instruction says that you have to review the underlying text. So this is the underlying text. And if it makes the statement correct, then you have to select no change is needed, which is given here, the option A. And if the statement is incorrect, then you have to choose the answer that will make the statement correct. So now, do you think 12 months notification is the correct answer, or do you think it's 6 months or 90 days or 30 days? The correct answer for this question is option A, no change needed. So whenever there is a service that is going to get discontinued, in that case, Microsoft will always provide you a notification well before 12 months. Now let's move to an interesting question, question number 40. The question says that you have an application that is comprised of an Azure web app that has a service level agreement or SLA of 99.95% and an Azure SQL database that has an SLA of 99.99%. The composite SLA for the application is the product of both SLAs, which is equal to 99.94%. Now you have to review the underlying text, which is this one, 99.94%. And if it makes the statement correct, then you have to select the no change as we did in the previous question as well. And if this statement is incorrect, then you have to choose the answer out of these given options. Now let me take you to the Microsoft documentation and make you understand how these composite SLA are calculated, and then we will come back to answer this question. So this is the Microsoft documentation which talks about composite SLA, and here you can see that Microsoft has given an example. Similar to our question, Microsoft has also given an example which comprises of a solution that contains app service or web app which has a SLA of 99.95%, and the second service that this solution has is SQL database which has a SLA of 99.99%. Now let's see how a composite SLA is calculated for all the services in your solution. So what you simply have to do is you have to multiply the SLA of all your services, which is shown here as well. You can see that Microsoft has multiplied the SLA of first service 99.95 and then the SLA of second service 99.99, which gives us 99.94%. So nothing is super complex in calculating composite SLA, just a simple multiplication of all the SLA for all the services that you are using in your solution, and then you get a composite SLA. Coming back to our presentation, as we saw in the Microsoft documentation, we just need to multiply the two SLAs of the different services and then we get the final composite SLA. So here we have multiplied 99.95, which was the SLA of Azure Web App, and we have multiplied 99.99, which is the SLA of the Azure SQL database, and this gives us 99.94. So the correct answer for this question is option A, no change needed. Now let's move to question number 41. The question says that when you need to delegate permissions to several Azure virtual machines simultaneously, you must deploy Azure virtual machines to which of the following? Your options are Azure Region, Azure Availability Zone, Azure Resource Group, or Azure Resource Manager template. The correct answer for this question is option C, Azure Resource Group. Moving on with question number 42, the question says that one of the benefits of Azure SQL Data Warehouse is the high availability is built into the platform. And in this question, again, you have to review the underlying text. And if this makes the statement correct, you have to select no change needed. And if this makes the statement incorrect, then you have to choose the answers out of the other given options. So do you think that one of the benefits of Azure SQL Data Warehouse is that high availability is built into it? Let's check out the answer, and the correct answer for this question is no change needed, which means that high availability is built into Azure SQL Data Warehouse. And here is one very important point for this question, that Microsoft can change this question because now Azure SQL Data Warehouse is changed to Azure Synapse Analytics. And the same we discussed in question number 4 of part 1. So in case instead of Azure Data Warehouse, you see the option of Azure Synapse Analytics, both are same. It's just that Azure Synapse Analytics is the modern name or the new name for Azure SQL Data Warehouse. Just a quick tip because Microsoft can change things very quickly. Now let's move to question number 43, and this is a true false or yes no kind of question. The question says that authorization to access Azure resources can be provided only to Azure Active Directory or Azure AD users. You have to tell whether it's a true statement or a false statement. The correct answer for this one is it's a false statement. Quickly jumping to question number 44, identities stored in Azure Active Directory, Azure AD, third-party cloud services, and on-premises Active Directory can be used to access Azure resources. The correct answer for this one is false. Then moving on with question number 45, and it says that Azure has built-in authentication and authorization service that provides secure access to Azure resources. The correct answer very obviously is true. So Azure definitely has a built-in authentication and authorization service. Now let's move on to a very interesting drag and drop kind of question, question number 46. In this, you are given with some Azure services on the left hand side and you are given with some of the definitions on the right hand side in the answer area. So basically what you need to do is match these Azure services with these definitions on the right hand side. Now let's read the first right hand side definition in the answer area. The first one says that an if then else statement of assignments and access controls. Now very easily you can figure out that we are given with if then else statement. So basically you have to pick an Azure service that will enable you to create if then statement, which is none other than the conditional access. So conditional access, you can put lot of if that happens, then you do this, if that happens, then you do this. So that is what conditional access enables you to do. Moving on with the second statement, it says that this service is responsible for authentication. And this one is none other than the Azure AD. So Azure AD enables you to set authentication in Azure. And of course, the last one is responsible for authorization, which is RBAC. Also remember that Microsoft can change the format of the question. So instead of giving you a drag and drop kind of question, it can change the questions to, let's say, yes, no kind of question, true or false, multiple choices. So it's very important that you remember that what Azure services do. Moving on with question number 47, let's talk about Azure China. So the question says that Azure China is operated by Microsoft. You have to tell whether it's a true or a false, and the correct answer is this is a false statement. And to justify our answer, this is the Microsoft documentation which talks more about Azure China operation. And here you can read that in mainland China, Microsoft Azure is operated by 21 VNet, which is physically separated instance of cloud services located in mainland China. And that's the reason we have selected a false here. Moving on with question number 48, and it says that Azure government is operated by Microsoft. And the correct answer for this question is true. Now you must remember, whenever we are talking about Azure government, then we are always talking about the US government. We will see more questions in the coming slides. However, we talked about US government and Azure government in the question number 6 of part 1. So if you are looking for more details on Azure government, you can refer question number 6 of part 1. Now let's move to the question number 49, and it says that Azure government is available only to US government agencies and their partners. And the correct answer, of course, is true. Now let's jump to the question number 50, and this says that your company implements Azure policies to automatically add a watermark to Microsoft Word documents that contains credit card information. And in this question also, you have to review the underlying text, and if this statement is correct using this underlying text, you have to choose no change. Otherwise, you have to choose from all the options given below to make this statement correct. Now let's check out the correct answer for this question, and that one is option C, Azure Information Protection. So it's not Azure policy that can help you to add watermark to the Word document, but this one is Azure Information Protection, or sometimes also known as AIP. And here comes little more information on Azure Information Protection, and this is used to automatically add a watermark to Microsoft Word documents that contains credit card information. You can use Azure Information Protection label to apply classification to the documents and emails. So do remember that it's not only Word document, but also the emails which you can categorize using Azure Information Protection. Additionally, it says that when you do this, the classification is identifiable regardless of where the data is stored or with whom it's shared. The labels can include visual markings such as header, footer, or watermark. So friends, while I'm reading these lines for you, you have to mark the keywords because Microsoft Azure can change the question in the real exam. So instead of asking watermark, they can ask you for the footer or the header, or instead of asking for the Microsoft Word document, they can also include the emails. However, now I am sure that you understand what Azure Information Protection does. Now let's move to question number 51, and here I present more questions on Azure China. So Azure China is operated by 21 VNet. And just a little while back, I showed you that yes, Azure China is operated by 21 VNet. And once again, for those who have missed the previous question, this is the Microsoft documentation. And here it's clearly mentioned that Azure service in China is operated by 21 VNet. Now let's read the question number 52, and it says that Microsoft Azure services operated by 21 VNet are standalone instance separating from Azure Global Service. And the correct answer for this question is true. Once again, on the same documentation, in second point, it's written that Microsoft Azure service operated by 21 VNet are standalone instances separating it from the global Azure services. And that's why we have chosen true here. Now let's move to the question number 53, and this one says that the services availability is not identical to the global Azure. The correct answer for this question is true. Referring the same Microsoft documentation, it's mentioned here that therefore the service availability is not identical to the global Azure. So friends, I hope now you understand what are the different kind of questions that can come on Azure China and Azure Government. Once again, I will reiterate that whenever it's Azure Government, it's always related to the USA. Now let's move to question number 54, and this one says that Azure Government is designed for any government worldwide, US government and UK government. And I just told you that Azure Government is always related to the US government. Let's move to question number 55. It says that Microsoft Office 365, Xbox Live, and Microsoft Intune is an example of software as a service or SaaS, infrastructure as a service or IaaS, or platform as a service, PaaS. The correct answer for this one is software as a service. Friends, I am hopeful that you are liking the questions so far and understanding them well. If so, then please press the like button as this helps our videos to reach a larger audience. Also, do share your doubts or any other questions that you want to ask on AZ-900 in the comment section, and I will take up all those questions in the next part. And you are most welcome to join us on the other social media platform, the handles for which is now flashing on your screen. Now let's jump to the question number 56, and this says that you have resource group named RG1 and you plan to create virtual networks and app services in RG1. Now you need to prevent the creation of virtual machines only in RG1. The solution must ensure that other objects can be created in RG1. So basically you have to ensure that virtual machines should not be created in RG1. However, there is no restriction on the other resource. And the options given in the question is a lock, an Azure role, a tag, or an Azure policy. And the correct answer for this question is option D, an Azure policy. Now let me give you a little bit more detail on Azure policy. So Azure policies can be used to define requirements for resource properties during deployment and for already existing resources. Azure policies controls properties such as type or location of resources. And that's what we are also looking. We are controlling the type of resources. We want to restrict the creation of virtual machine. On the other hand, we can let go the creation of all the other resources. Similarly, you can use Azure policies to control the location of resources. Also, it's given that Azure policy is a service in Azure that you can use to create, assign, and manage policies. These policies enforce different rules and effects over your resources so the resources stay compliant with your corporate standards and service level agreements. Azure policy is one of the very important services in Azure, so you must learn about Azure policies. Moving on with question number 57, and this one says that Azure Advisor provides recommendation on how to improve security on Azure Active Directory environment. Do you think it's a true statement or is it a false statement? Let's see the answer. The answer is it's a false statement. Now let's move to the other questions and see what you can use Azure Advisor for. So in question number 58, it says that Azure Advisor provides recommendation on how to configure the network settings on Azure Virtual Machine. Is it true or is it false? This one again is false. And now let's figure out what Azure Advisor can be used for. So in question number 59, it says that Azure Advisor provides recommendation on how to reduce cost of running Azure Virtual Machine. And this statement is obviously true. So friends, what I try to essentially do is to group the questions on one of Azure service and present it to you in one shot. Hopefully this grouping of question will surely help you when you're giving the actual exam. Now let's jump to the question number 60, and this one says that after you create a virtual machine, you need to modify the network security group or NSG to allow connection to TCP port 8080 on virtual machine. The instruction again are the same. You have to review the underlying text, this one NSG, and you have to choose no change needed if this is a correct statement. Otherwise, you have to choose out of these given options. So the first option given is of course no change needed. The second option is virtual network gateway. The third one is virtual network, and the fourth one is route table. The correct answer for this question is option A, no change needed. Now let me give you the reasoning behind it. Here you can read that when you create a virtual machine, the default setting is to create the NSG or network security group attached to the network interface assigned to a virtual machine. A NSG works like a firewall. You can attach a network security group to a virtual network or individual subnets within the virtual network. You can also attach NSG to a network interface assigned to a virtual machine. Also, you can read that you can use multiple NSG within a virtual network to restrict traffic between resources such as virtual machine and subnet. Please mind that network security group can be applied on different level, and that's exactly what I have explained in this paragraph. Now let's move to another interesting question, question number 61. This one says that several support engineers plan to manage Azure by using the computers shown in the table below. And here you can see that we have three computers, 1, 2 and 3, and the operating systems are also given. For the first one we have Windows 10, for the second one we have Ubuntu, and for the third one is Mac OS Mojave or Mojave. Further, the question says that you need to identify which Azure management tool can be used for each computer. What should you identify for each computer? And to answer, you have to select the appropriate option in the answer area. And of course, you are already noting that each correct answer is worth 1 point. So here you are given with options for each of the computer, and you have to choose one option for each computer. For each computer, the options given are same. The first option is Azure CLI and Azure Portal, Azure Portal and Azure PowerShell. The third option given is Azure CLI and Azure PowerShell. And the fourth option given is Azure CLI, Azure Portal and Azure PowerShell. Now friends, let me give you the answer and then I will give you my understanding of why I have picked this answer. And this is because as you might be seeing a lot of variations in the answer of these questions on various sites. So the correct answer for computer 1, 2 and 3 is Azure CLI, Azure Portal and Azure PowerShell. Now let me give you my reasoning for this. So basically Azure CLI can be installed everywhere. And here is the Microsoft documentation to prove that. Here you can see it's written that Azure CLI is available to install Windows, Mac OS and Linux environment. In fact, you can also run the Azure CLI on Docker container and Azure Cloud Shell. And this makes Azure CLI a correct answer as it can run on Windows 10, Ubuntu or Mac OS. Moving on with Azure Portal, Azure Portal is basically browser based. So you can access Azure Portal in any device in which you can open any browser. That's why Azure Portal is also a correct option. Then moving on with Azure PowerShell. So Azure PowerShell can also run on every system. There are some prerequisites to run Azure PowerShell, but surely it can run on any of the operating system. And if you are interested to read more on Azure PowerShell, then this is the Microsoft documentation. And this documentation will guide you on how to install Azure PowerShell using the module PowerShell Get. Importantly, note that it's written that this will give you instruction to work on Windows, Mac OS and Linux. And these are the three operating systems mentioned in our question as well. That's the reason I have included PowerShell also in my answer. Now, hopefully, after seeing the Microsoft documentation, I am sure that you are clear about the logic of choosing all these options as an answer for all the three computers, or should I say for all the three operating systems. However, if you have some different answer or some different logic, I will be happy to hear that in comment section. And with that, let's move to the next question, and that is about Azure Germany. So this says that Azure Germany can be used by legal residents of Germany only. So you have to tell whether it's a valid statement or do you need to fix this statement by choosing one of these given options. So the options given are no change needed. The second option is only enterprises that are registered in Germany. The third option is only enterprises that purchase their Azure licenses from a partner based in Germany. And the last option is any user or enterprise that requires its data to reside in Germany. And the correct answer obviously is option D. With that question, one more time, I'm going to repeat and summarize for you so that the questions and the answer imprints in your mind. So first of all, we have Azure Government, which is related to the US government. The second one is Azure China, and the third one is Azure Germany. And just to leave you with a little bit more details on Azure Germany, so Azure Germany is available to the eligible customers and partners globally who intend to do business in EU, EFTA, including the United Kingdom. Azure Germany offers a separate instance of Microsoft Azure services from within the German data centers. So the data centers are located in two locations, Frankfurt and Magdeburg. Hopefully now you will be able to handle any question in this area. Moving on with question number 63. This says that authorization to access Azure resources can be provided only to Azure Active Directory users. Is it a true or a false statement? The correct answer is it's a false statement. Moving on with question number 64, it says identities stored in Azure Active Directory, third-party cloud services, and on-premises Active Directory can be used to access Azure resources. The correct answer is false. And then we have question number 65. It says that Azure has built-in authentication and authorization service that provides secure access to Azure resources. The correct answer for this question is true. Now friends, I already know that these questions are repeated, but as I always say, repetition is very important and it can really help you to recall the answers in the real exam. And with that thought, I would like to close our part 2 on AZ-900 updated exam Q&A series. I am working on more questions and answers and will release these questions very shortly. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with everyone who is preparing for AZ-900. Till we meet again in our next video, stay fit, keep learning, and thanks for watching. If this video has added any value in your learning, a like and subscribe is highly appreciated. Share this video in your family and friends to spread and expand their learning. Your comments and feedback give me a chance to interact with you and I look forward for them. We will meet again in our next video. Till then, stay fit, keep learning, and thanks for watching.